Hey guys, Roman Sliders here with a new episode of Players Perspective, the interview series where I talk to fellow YouTubers and get to know them a little better. Standing by with me is a man who's all about living life to its fullest. From singer to songwriter to music producer to filmmaker, the list is endless. And if you have a passion in life, he'll be the first one to tell you to go out and make it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chris Commisso. Chris, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Patrick. Thanks for the great intro. I hope I
No
can live
problem.
up to it.
I'm sure you will. So, Chris, you are primarily a singer-songwriter, and you perform in a mix of genres such as pop, R&B, hip hop, and rap, to name but a few. And you list as your musical influences the Beach Boys, George Michael, Phil Collins, the Beatles, and that's quite a diverse group in itself. So, how did you get started in this musical journey?
I got started, Patrick. My parents were a very musical bunch, my whole family. And when we were all kids, I have three brothers. And when we were all kids, well, my parents loved music. So there was always music in the house, but they also had kind of a family band, if you will. And we all played in the band here and there. And so we just got interested in music at an early age and got exposed to a lot of different styles of music, a lot of different artists. And that really just was something deep in my soul from a very early age, and from there it just grew and grew, and now I love music. I'm a fan of it, and I love making it and creating it, and that's pretty much how it all got started.
So, would you credit your family for really instilling that love of music in you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because they were the same way. Not only did they love playing music, but they were all fans of it as well, like most people are, but more so, I think, in our household. Because one example I always tell people is that a lot of kids had their toys when they were 4 or 5 years old, and we certainly had toys, but we also had a lot of musical instruments around the house that were toys, drums and pianos and bells and keyboards and stuff like that. So we would always be just banging on the drums or something like that. And that was just fun. So I think at an early age, we associated music as something fun. I know I have a lot of friends that when they were, a little older, 11 or 12, their parents forced them to play the piano or forced them to take piano lessons or be in the band at school. And our parents never forced anything on us. We just had a natural love for music, just being around it.
Yeah, I think when you're that age, it's all about being exposed to a variety of different things and seeing what you like, what you don't, and trying to develop interests from there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you have your main YouTube channel is the Piano Shack,
Correct.
and you started that in 2011, and that covers a variety of different stuff you do, such as music covers, your own original works, vlogs, and as well, you also had a second channel, which was started in 2007, Chris Commisso's Music. So tell us about the differences between the Piano Shack and that earlier channel.
Well, the earlier channel was when I first joined YouTube, and I really was just kind of feeling the whole thing out. Honestly, I didn't know what YouTube was all about. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I was a musician and I wanted to put my stuff out there. So I did whatever I thought of at the time. I did covers and originals and anything, comedy stuff. And I was really kind of all over the board, and nobody really knew who Chris Commisso was as an artist. I was just doing whatever, following trends. And I got a little dissatisfied with that and said, I really need to find my niche. And that's why I started my current channel, The Piano Shack, because I knew, well, I basically asked myself the question, who am I as an artist? And I thought, well, the piano is kind of my main thing, and I love the big harmonies. You mentioned the Beach Boys and whatnot earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
love all those big harmonies, and so that was really it. I just said, those are my things. So, and not that I can't do other stuff on the channel, because I certainly still do a variety of things, but I wanted a channel that really focused in on my niche, and so that 80% of the videos were what I do. And so that's it. I wanted a theme. I picked the name. The Piano Shack is actually based off of a song of mine that I wrote, and that was it. And just went from there.
Nice. So, could we say that through exploring these different genres that we see in your music, is that, would you say, a musical a musical version, I guess you could say, of trying to find yourself, find your identity, as it were.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's any musician will tell you if they're trying to find their own sound or their own signature musically, that it really is a process. There's a lot of experimentation, and I feel really fortunate in that the past year I've really kind of honed in on what is authentically me. And the only reason I've gotten to even close to that point is just because I've experimented with so many different recordings and styles, and you really get a sense of who you are in doing that. I mean, you can't just sit down and put it on paper. You just got to get out there and throw yourself in the trenches and record and get feedback from people, and based on all that, yeah, you start to figure out, okay, this is more who I am. And it's nice. It's a nice place to move towards, because a lot of us are sort of musically, we have identity crisis. I know I did even a couple of years back. I really didn't know who I was or what I wanted to say. So it's nice to be able to zero in on that and say, okay, this is really what. And I think people appreciate that because they want to be able to identify you with a certain sound and style and vision and all of those things. If they can't really put their finger on who or what you are, I think you start losing people.
Yeah, I think it's all about really finding your own sound, and once you've found that, you're able to really move forward, and as well as being able to explore lots of different styles, but with your own stamp attached to it.
Yeah, you just nailed it. That's exactly it. I think if you have your stamp, then you can do those different styles. You can move a little bit into different genres, etc., but you're still you, and people follow you that way. Like you mentioned before, the artists that I like, Phil Collins and those kind of artists. When you say their name, there's a sound that goes with that artist, and that's really important because that's how you identify them. And even if they do go a little left of center stylistically, you still get that artist. And if they do veer away from that, most times people don't like that. So it's good to stick with who you are. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And I mentioned it earlier, but you also do music covers as well. Now,
Yeah.
do you enjoy those, or do you prefer to put your own original stuff up there? I mean, how do you feel about both of them?
I really like covers, although they're not my favorite. If I could, I would just do originals because that's really where my passion is. But mainly, I'll be honest, I started doing covers only because that's something you really have to do on YouTube if you want to build and grow your audience. Because if you just do originals, those don't really come up in the search engines and people won't know who you are. But the covers those attract people that have never seen what you do. So initially that's why I started doing covers, but now I actually do enjoy them only because I can kind of put my own spin on them, and that makes it fun for me and a challenge.
Yeah, no, I think it's always for someone who's listening to it. It's always you're hearing as a listener, you're hearing something familiar, but you're hearing someone else's interpretation of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's very. I think for the original artist, I think that's. I guess that must be quite flattering for them, seeing like where you take their stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I would imagine so. And it's really fun for the listener too, because I mean, we have the original song, so it's neat to have different versions out there. It's just kind of fun. And sometimes I'll hear cover versions on YouTube that I quite honestly enjoy more than the original.
Yeah. Now, if we talk about the vlogs on your channel as well, you put those up and you talk about a variety of different topics, whatever comes on your mind, really. Now, when watching them, I get a real sense of a connection that you really want to share a particular topic or story with your audience. Tell me what that's like, and how you got into getting into vlogs.
Yeah, well, I for one thing, I love making people laugh, so it's hard to get away from that because I do some silly stuff. But if there's a core message behind what I do, I think it really is that I want to encourage people to follow whatever it is in life that they're interested in. And
Yeah.
I think in the world, there's just too many examples of when you put yourself out there or when you say, I have this dream or this thing that I want to do, most of the time that's not met with encouragement, but it's met with people who are trying to discourage you from going down that path. Don't get your hopes up, kid. You might not make it, and then you'll really be disappointed. And that's no way to achieve a dream. And I point to examples of people. Some of my heroes are people like Walt Disney and people like that had nothing. They had nothing, and they had no financial resources or anything to achieve what they wanted to do. And what in Walt Disney's case, I mean, he wanted to do something that was just crazy and unheard of. The movies he made, and of course, building Disneyland and all that. And he didn't have a whole lot of people telling him, "Hey, Walt, you can do it." Most people told him he was crazy. But so I look at that and I think, well, gee, a lot of us aren't trying to build Disneyland. We're just trying to do other things. But we still have people out there that kind of put us down. So I'd like to be if I can, in some small way, I would love to be a voice through my music or through whatever I do to encourage people of any age, shape, size, whatever, that no matter what, if you really have a dream and there's something you want to do, there's always a way. Don't let somebody else or even yourself shoot yourself down towards getting there. And the reason I'm so passionate about that is because in my own life, I know that I've had people tell me, "Oh, that's crazy," or "You should really try something else," and that gets in my own head, and I've even been my own worst enemy at times, saying, "Oh, maybe I can't do this." But I've learned over time to say, "Okay, that's silly." There's plenty of examples out there of people who have done amazing things with no resources or huge obstacles in their way. So yeah, I'd say to wrap it up, that's really my core message.
Yeah, no, that's really a great thing to share with people. I think it really is.
Thank you.
Now, quite recently, last year, in fact, in 2012, you were the recipient of the first place in the Glozell YouTube Idol contest that was run by Glozell Green, who's a YouTube comedian and personality. And with that, we got to hear songs like "Till You Believe" and "I'm Gonna Live." And so to gain that sort of recognition for an artist must be very gratifying. So what did it mean to you, Chris, to win that award?
Well, thanks, Patrick. You've really definitely done your research there, buddy. It was great to win that award because a lot of contests I enter, most contests I enter, I don't win. So it was nice to win for one.
Yeah.
But that was it meant a lot. It was just very encouraging to be picked because I went up against some pretty stiff competition. They were all, especially when we got down to the last couple of rounds, there were some really talented people, and a couple of them who I'm still friends with actually to this day. But so it was just a lot of times when I enter contests, it's just to get some exposure, maybe get a few more people out there that know what I'm doing. I usually don't really count or plan on winning, and this one especially, I thought, since Glozell is as huge as she is, with the amount of people that entered the competition, I don't know how many entered, but I know it was tons of people, but I really didn't expect to get as far as I did, much less win things. So it was just another dash of encouragement for me to keep moving forward. It kind of just said, "Hey, you're on the right track here. Keep doing it." So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and I was going back while preparing for this interview. I was going back and looking at the different entries you were putting in when it was going down to the final 10 or the final 5 or whatever, and you were debuting the songs sometimes live in front of the camera when it was just you and a keyboard, and I really got a sense that it meant very much that this opportunity meant a lot to you, and I really felt that just what, even though it had happened a while back, I even felt by watching it that I was a part of this journey along with you.
Oh, that's very cool. Well, thank you. Yeah, it meant a lot. It was the nature of what I do in terms of putting music up on YouTube, and I know a lot of people can relate to this. It can be very discouraging at times because you don't always get a lot of feedback instantly, or a lot of recognition or anything. I mean, sometimes you feel like you're sort of creating in obscurity in your own little corner of the world. And especially now on YouTube, YouTube is so huge and there's so many big channels out there that dominate the scene.
Mm. Yeah.
So to do a contest or that kind of thing where there's potential to be seen and share what you love, that meant a lot to me, and that's why I worked so hard for that one, because I knew, well, this could potentially build my audience, and it did. It brought me some people that normally would have never heard of me. So yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's on YouTube. It's all about doing what you love, and then hopefully finding an audience that loves what you do as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, no matter what you do, it really is all about perseverance and just keep trying again and again. Even if it seems like, you're hitting your head against a brick wall, it's just moving forward because no one wants to move back in life.
Yeah, and that's a great example of. I mean, I preach perseverance to people all the time, because I'll have people on YouTube that write me and they'll say, "Oh, I feel like giving up. I've been doing this now for 3 years or whatever," and I tell them, you know what? There's plenty of examples out there of people who didn't have a lot of talent that were just very persistent, who became successful. And I know examples of people that are insanely talented that gave up. I have friends that I used to go to competitions, songwriting and musical competitions here in the US in Nashville, and they were just insanely talented. People that you saw them perform and you were like, "Oh wow, that person's a star." And then but they got so discouraged along the way that things didn't happen as fast as they wanted them to, that they gave up. And they're not doing it anymore. And it's just like, wow, that's sad, because you just know if they just would have stuck with it. And that's kind of the model I use. I just say, you know what? No matter how discouraging this gets along the way, if I just keep doing it, at some point, somebody's going to get it. Somebody's going to latch on. The audience will show up. It's just a matter of continuing to do it and continuing to grow and improve. And but yeah, it can get bumpy along the way, but I think that's the real trick, is staying in the game even when you don't feel like playing.
Yeah, that's a really great message to give.
Thanks.
Yeah. With that, you've had several albums over the past several years, including Thursdays at the Piano Shack, that was released in 2007. And I'm right in thinking, I've listened to some of it, but I'm right in thinking that went more in a rock direction. Is that right?
Mm-hmm, yes.
And yeah. And just this past January in 2013, you released the self-titled the Piano Shack, and that comprises most of your work from the past year. And and as a song that was one of my favorites, I think it's in there. Candace wore her Converse.
Oh,
is that right?
Thank you. Yeah,
I really like that one. It's
cool.
very upbeat, and it really gets you going if you've had like a bad day or just want to listen to something, and it just gets you into it straight away. So do you plan to release more albums as time goes on?
Oh, absolutely. I've been just releasing singles lately. I'll put them on iTunes, or I'll post them free on Bandcamp or SoundCloud. But yeah, I'm absolutely will do. In fact, I just posted a free, if you go to any of my YouTube page or website, and I have a free EP I just put up. But yeah, absolutely working on new material all the time for another album of original stuff. That's constant. Yeah. Can't wait to put something new out.
Yeah. Well, I'll look forward to it when it gets out.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Now, I was reading that you're also a public speaker. You've done some work in that area.
Yeah.
Now, is that like a motivational speaker? How do you get involved in that? It seems very much connected to your own personality and attitude towards life. So how did you get involved in that arena?
Yeah, thanks. I got involved with it really just accidentally. It was not anything I planned on. In fact, I really wasn't real comfortable speaking in front of people, to be honest. And I just kept getting, the more I did music stuff, the more I kept getting asked, in my area anyway. People would say, "Hey, we want you to come and talk to, kids at the school," or something like that. And so I just keep getting these opportunities to speak, and I'm always happy to, because it's great. I want to encourage people if I can and share my story and whatnot, and hopefully inspire them to go out and do their own thing. But it's just funny that I'm doing that, because it's certainly not something I planned on. And I am definitely, I could sit here and talk, and I'm comfortable doing that, but it took me a little bit to get used to talking in front of people. And I'm not anybody that's set out to be a public speaker by any means. And I'm certainly not a pro. I just kind of shoot from the hip. But yeah, it's fun when I get to do it.
And do you cover the same sort of topics, or does someone approach you and say, Chris, we'd like to talk to you. We would like you to talk to a group of people on this subject. I mean, how does that work?
Most of the time, it's a generalized, just come and tell your story and that kind of thing. But sometimes they'll have a specific request. I'm trying to think of an example, but one time, if you brought up Candace wore her Converse. One time, I was asked to speak at a school, and they wanted me to talk specifically about that song and why I wrote it. And so that was fun, because I wrote the song about it's about being yourself and being an individual and not caring about what other people think, and so it was easy to talk about it, basically, because that's something I'm passionate about as well. So, and it was fun to sort of dissect the song and give them the whole story about how it all came to be. But mostly when I get asked to speak, it's just more of a general thing.
Yeah, that's really, really great to hear. And now a link to that I've noticed on your website, not your YouTube channel, but your actual website, you there and on a page you have a Bible quote from Galatians 6:9, and that is, I think, very much sums up you and your attitude and your own character. So, could you tell us the meaning for that for you, and why you wanted to share it?
Well, I'm a Christian, and I don't put a whole lot of, I know that we live in a great big world, and there are many different belief systems out there, and different people come in from different places. So I don't by any means shove my beliefs down anyone else's throat, but I am, that is my background. And I just felt that verse in particular was very encouraging and inspiring. And it's just a little something I put out there to let people know, hey, this is kind of my background. And I guess that's the best way to put it. It's just another way to encourage people to keep doing what they're doing and moving forward in life. And I think, I may be going out on a limb here, but I think there's a great percentage of people in the world that probably, regardless of their beliefs, feel that there is the possibility of something out there that started long before us.
Yeah. Now I get you.
Yeah. Well, there's so much complexity in our own bodies and the universe, and so for me personally, I felt like, well, at least my own journey in that area, anyways, came down to that. It was like, well, you know what? There's as advanced as we are in this world, there's still just so much we don't know. And I don't think it's much of a stretch to say that there's certainly the possibility that there's something beyond our understanding that may have kicked it all into gear. So yeah, that's just every once in a while I will drop a little something like that into the mix to let people know my own background, but mostly again, just to it goes along with my message, just to continue to encourage and inspire them in their own journey, whatever they're doing.
Yeah, I think whenever you read something like that, I think if some people who maybe say are a bit more cynical, they may feel that's someone being a bit pretentious. But I think if you're really open to what people want to say, then I think you definitely get a deeper meaning from it. Yeah. Now
it's tricky in our world today because I mean, people, and I respect the fact that people have different beliefs. I mean, that's just how it goes. You go anywhere in the world, and even here in the U.S., I mean, you go on any street corner, you're going to find 100 different people with 100 different ideas of life and philosophies. And so I think it's again, I think it's fine to let people know what your background and your beliefs are, but I'm very careful with that because I don't want I don't. I've seen other people who kind of shove what they believe down other people's throats, and it's a big turnoff. Nobody wants to be preached at for anything.
No.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's kind of a tricky balance there. And if somebody asks me like you did, of course, then I'm happy. I'm happy to delve into it. But that's kind of where that lies. So
No, no, I know
hope that
when
makes
I saw it. Yeah, yeah. When I saw it, it definitely piqued my interest. So I made sure to make a note of that.
cool. I'm glad you did. Not a lot of people ask, so that's cool.
Yeah. So Chris, what sort of future projects do you have down the pipeline?
Well, right now I'm doing a lot of stuff on YouTube, of course, trying to put out stuff weekly. I am basically trying to step up my game in terms of the videos. I'm trying to become a better filmmaker so that the videos communicate much better and are more entertaining. And just as a musician, as a songwriter, as a producer, I'm trying to write and arrange and produce better songs. And I know that's a kind of a vague generalization, but that really is what I'm trying to do, is basically just continue to improve in every area. And I really like the idea of surprising people. I don't ever want people to come to my subscribe to my channel and go, "Oh, okay, I know what's coming next. Oh, he'll do this next." That will never be a part of what I want to do. I really want to grow, but I also want to constantly try to innovate and take risks and do things that maybe people aren't expecting. So I'm constantly throwing around new ideas. And so if you follow me on my channel, I can promise you'll always get something a little bit different as we continue to go along. And that's because I want it to stay fresh and entertaining. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm working on.
yeah. So you mentioned about stepping up your game in terms of video production. That reminded me what I wanted to say earlier. When looking at your music videos, you seem to have um, quite a sophisticated setup in terms of cameras and mixing and that sort of area. Do you live in an area where you've got access to those types of resources or like a crew to help you out?
No, actually, it's funny you say that because everything I do is pretty low budget, and I do have the one piece of gear that I have that is sophisticated is I have a very nice camera. It's a Canon 60D, so
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's a good quality camera, but everything else is well. For instance, most of the videos I shoot by myself. I basically have to set up the camera, make sure I'm in frame. I have a viewfinder that flips around so I can be standing in front of the camera and I can see kind of where I am in the shot. Occasionally, you'll notice in some very small amount, but some of my videos, the camera's moving and doing all sorts of fun stuff. I have a friend or two that will help me sometimes, and I'll shoot a more advanced video. But most of the time, 8 to 9 out of 10 of the videos I do are just me by myself. Cameras on a tripod, and and the gear other than the camera, it's all very. I mean, you'd laugh if you saw some of it. I do have a decent set of they're called softbox lights, but I have a couple of those. But then I use little clamp lights. They're like work lights that if you're familiar with Walmart, have you heard of
Yeah.
Walmart here?
Yeah, we don't have them over here, but yeah, they're over here they're owned by a supermarket. They're part of a supermarket chain called Asda, and they have the same logo.
Okay,
It's part of the same company. They have
yeah.
the exact same logo, but yeah, I have been to Walmart before. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's basically it. I mean, I have supplies from basically a supermarket, clamp lights, and I have a boom mic that's on the end of a broomstick, which, I mean, it looks ridiculous, but it does the job. So it's basically what you would call peanuts and popcorn filmmaking. It's very
All right.
not a whole. I mean, I try to do the most with what I have. So and again, when I'm able to have a bigger budget down the road, I'll hopefully buy some more gear that's a little better. But right now, it's just I use what I have, whatever resources, I try to make them work.
Like the Roger Corman style of filmmaking.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you get a lot of people on YouTube. They think I've had people write me this a lot. they'll say, man, I wish I could do what you're doing, but I just don't have the money for all that gear. And I'm
Yeah.
like, listen, I don't have any gear. I have a great camera. Go spend whatever money you have, get a decent camera. And nowadays you can get those DSLR cameras for, you could get a used one for $300 or $400, $400 or $500 maybe. That's it. I mean, if you can invest in a good camera and a little tripod to hold it up, that's all you need. In fact, I tell people, if you can't even get the camera, start doing webcam videos. If you have a computer, you got a webcam, just do webcam stuff. It's not about all the gear and all how fancy you can get. It comes down to what is the content? What are you doing that's entertaining? And I've seen people that can get in front of a webcam and just talk or play music, and they're very entertaining. They don't need all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, I think very much when you're making videos on YouTube, it's about focusing on the skills that you're good at yourself, and then try to emphasize those in the videos.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's about primarily editing and audio mixing. I'm quite good with those, so I make sure that that side of things is as slick as I can make it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, show them what you have. Do what you do. And don't worry about getting more equipment down the road. Just use what you have right now.
Okay, Chris, so I'm going to ask you a question that I ask everyone who does one of these interviews, and that is, if a game developer were to come to you, Chris, and say, Chris, you can make whatever video game you would like, what would it be and why?
Whatever video game I like and why. That's a good question. Well, I would say I really like when they turn movie themes into video games. Like I think there was a Ghostbusters video game that came out a while back.
Yeah.
And then I know there's the Batman ones they have out. So I would say to be involved with something like that, a superhero game or something movie themed, would be the next best thing to doing the music for an actual movie. That would be really cool. And that would be exciting. Yeah, I would love to do something like that. That would be neat.
No, that sounds really awesome.
Yeah.
So Chris, what do you have to say to all the people who have followed you in your journey at the start, or who are just discovering you right now? What do you have to say to the fans out there who have been following you and your career?
Well, to everyone that's been following me, I'm tremendously grateful. It's amazing that they've stuck with me, and I'm just so thankful, because they are truly the lifeblood of, I mean, if I put out a video and nobody's watching, that video is basically stillborn. So to have people out there that are like not only sticking with me, but writing me and encouraging me as I go along, that really is the lifeblood of what I do. So I'm tremendously grateful. I'm in their debt, and I can't thank them enough. So to sum it up, Patrick, basically to have an audience there is what it's all about for me. And I would just say to them, thank you. Thank you for being there, and I hope you'll stick with me as we move into the future.
That's great to hear. So, Chris, where can we find you out on the internet if we want to?
Oh, goodness, I'm all over the place. Well, they can go to, basically everything is themed with my channel, which is The Piano Shack, one word. So all of my websites have The Piano Shack in the title. So you can find, of course, my YouTube page, and then my Twitter, Facebook. My personal website is just The Piano Shack. If you go to any of my YouTube videos, I have links underneath, in the description box on all the videos.
Yeah.
I'm also on a site called Patreon, and I'm on SoundCloud. I'm all over the place. I'm easy to find. So
okay. All of those links will be in the description below this video.
Oh, great.
So you can go check them out. So, Chris, it's been really wonderful getting to know you and talk to you in this interview, and I wish you all the very best.
Hey, thanks, Patrick. The same. It's been great. You're a great interviewer. You ask a lot of great questions, and I hope I haven't blabbed your audience's ear off with all my long answers. But these were fun.
No.
These are very fun questions. So, yeah,
Awesome
thanks
stuff.
for inviting me to the interview. I really appreciate it.